So you're thinking about moving to Naples and want to know what's it really like living in Naples? Well, in a minute, I'm going to tell you that. But right now, if this is your first time to the channel, my name is Mindy Sylvester, and I've been selling real estate in Naples since 2000. I've lived here since 1998. If this is your first time, please subscribe to the channel. If you want all the information on the latest real estate market in Naples, subscribe and hit that bell so you get the latest information on the Naples real estate market. So what's it really like living in Naples? Well, it's freaking awesome. It really is. I've lived here, like I said, since 1998. I've been all over the country. I've been all over the world. I've been to 65 different countries, and I can't think of anywhere else I would rather live. I've had second homes in various places throughout the country, and I still absolutely just love coming here. You're completely surrounded by beauty. I ride my bicycle every weekend to the beach, and I'm like a tourist every single weekend. It's like I've never been there before. I take 100 pictures of the beach because you just don't get tired of it. It's just absolutely beautiful. The palm tree lined streets and all the meticulous landscaping and the beautiful multi-million-dollar homes. It's spectacular. I can't think of anywhere that I've ever been where I said, wow, this is actually nicer than Naples. It's phenomenal. Now, what are the summers like? Yeah, the summers are pretty brutal. I got to be real about that. I'm pretty much cranky from May until November, at least October. But, it's every part of the country is something different. So when I grew up in Bloomington, Illinois, so up there, you have the winters. So what do you do in January and February when the winters are just terrible? You leave, right? You go to Florida or you go to Jamaica or a cruise, right? You get out of there and you come back and you deal with the rest of the winter. It's kind of like down here. In the summer, we go on vacation. We try to get out of here June and July. If you're in the service industry, your busy time is really October through March, specifically January, February, and March. So you're pretty much working. If you're really good at what you do, you're probably working 6 or 7 days a week. So that time of year now, when May and June hits, is when you can take a little bit of break. Most of the tourists are gone and you can do things for yourself and go on vacation and get out of the heat. So one thing is, you're driving home, at least up north though, in the summer, it gets cool a little bit at night. But I used to have a second home in Chicago, and there were times in July that it was hotter in Chicago than it was in Florida. But it does get cooler at night, usually, or a little bit, in most parts of the country, whereas it doesn't here. Sometimes you'll be driving home from dinner at 10 o'clock at night, and it's still 90 degrees. Well, who am I kidding? I'm not out at 10 o'clock at night, but I've seen it on TV, like on the screen, that it's 90 degrees when I'm like laying in bed changing the channel. But, sometimes I've been out at 10 o'clock at night before, but just not for a really long time. But that's beside the point. So the winters here are absolutely incredible. It's paradise. Really, November starts to get very nice. January, February, and March, you just want to be outside all the time. It might be a little bit chilly in the mornings, but in the afternoon, it's sunny, 70, 75, maybe even 80. Just doesn't get any better. It's just absolutely spectacular. And yes, the winters do get crowded, especially the past few years with all the people flocking to Florida. The winters are crowded here. We do have a lot of traffic, but you just get strategic about it. Like, you're not just going to go from the north end of town to the south end of town every single day, unless you're like a delivery person. But even with real estate, I try to be strategic. You're going to waste a lot of time if you're showing houses in the middle of the day all over town. So you do the north end one day, the south end the next day. You just have to learn how to be strategic, kind of like when you're living near a city and driving back and forth into the city or Chicago or Atlanta or whatever. You just have to be strategic. So the other great thing about Naples is it really is made up of some of the greatest people I've ever met. I have just met extraordinary people here. A lot of the people are from the Midwest. We have a lot of Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Ohio. We have a lot of people from Boston. We do have a lot of people from the New York, New Jersey area, but I think they mostly go to the East Coast. But you just have a good mix of Midwesterners here. They're just really good people. And I have met some of the most spectacular people I've ever known here in Naples. It's just a really great city, really friendly people. So besides that, we also have really amazing restaurants. Fifth Avenue and Third Street are two really great areas where there's just dozens and dozens of restaurants to choose from. We also have Mercado, which has nice restaurants, but for the size of the town, we have really great and really beautiful places to eat. I have some favorites, which are kind of like secrets, but I guess I can tell you maybe in another video, because if I tell everybody, then they're going to be too full and we won't be able to get in. That's another thing, though. In the season, though, January, February, March, if you want to get to a good restaurant, you do have to make reservations a couple weeks in advance. But summer is the time when you don't always need reservations. You can kind of walk right in. So also, one other great thing about Naples is how active it is. It's just pretty much anything you want to do, you can do here. It's the golf capital of the world. We have over 100 golf courses in Collier County. Lots of tennis communities. I'm an avid tennis player, so if you're specifically looking for tennis communities, I can definitely help you with that. Pickleball. We have the U.S. Open pickleball courts here. I don't know how many courts there are, but there's a lot. So we have a very, very big pickleball community here. Of course, there's always walking paths and biking paths, and it's really fun to walk up and down Gulf Shore Boulevard with all the big mansions. So, all right, so the question I know people ask me all the time, what about alligators? Okay, so alligators, it's really not that big of a deal. I mean, I remember the first one that I saw. You always remember your first, right? You never forget that. I lived in Port Charlotte when I first moved here, and I remember turning the corner. I was out for a walk, and there was like an 8-foot alligator, maybe 10-foot. It was huge in the driveway, and I freaked out a little bit, stopped, turned around, and walked back. But, you know, they don't bother you. So it's not really a big deal. You don't walk your dog without a leash by a lake. They'll get your dog, but they're not going to come after you. And personally, I would rather see an alligator than a snake or a spider. Like snakes and spiders creep up on you and crawl on you, and the alligator's never going to do that. So don't worry about the alligators. They're really not a big deal. Speaking of snakes, that a lot of people ask me about the snakes too. Yes, of course we have snakes. Everywhere has snakes, but I got to tell you, I've seen more snakes when I've visited Illinois over the past few years than I have ever seen here. A couple of years ago, I went to Clinton Lake up near Bloomington, and I saw 3 snakes in one day. I've never seen 3 snakes in one day in Florida. So don't read all that hype about the Burmese pythons. Okay, they're here, but they're not going to bother you. Just like I said, don't let your dogs out. Last but not least, the question most people want to know about, hurricanes. Okay, so this one I have to tread very lightly on because obviously we had Hurricane Ian a couple of years ago, and I have some friends that had their properties destroyed. And so I don't want to downplay what they went through by any means. It was obviously a very difficult situation. But here's what I'm going to say. At least with hurricanes, you get warning. You get many, many days. So you have the ability to leave. If you think there's a hurricane coming, you have the ability to evacuate in plenty of time. Whereas many parts of the country, they are affected more by tornadoes. And tornadoes, you don't have warning. They come in the middle of the night and they're very destructive. I don't have the exact statistics, but I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that more people have been injured and killed in tornadoes in the Midwest than in hurricanes in Florida. So don't worry about the hurricanes. We are prepared. We have hurricane impact windows, shutters. We have hurricane kits. Just prepare, be smart. If you want to leave, just pack up your valuable stuff, take your insurance papers, and go on vacation. So don't let hurricanes scare you. Definitely don't let it deter you from moving to Florida because it's a great place. So I hope I gave you a real idea of what it's really like living in Naples. And just kind of to summarize, if I could live anywhere else, and I guess I could live anywhere else, I don't think there's anywhere else I'd rather live. So if you are still thinking about moving to Naples and you want more information about the city or about specific real estate information, my contact information is in the description below. So please contact me and we'd love to work with you and help you find a beautiful home in Naples.